Hey guys, and welcome back to the Game Not Game podcast. My name is Green, and with me, as always, is my co-host Zen from his channel, Zen and Cyrene. How you doing, Zen?
Doing okay. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Big financial news today, or not today, like last week. Like February 16th is when this news came out, so it's a little bit cool. If you've been waiting to dump your long blockchain stocks, you are too late. I apologize. We talked fairly recently about how Long Island Iced Tea, is that the name of the company?
Yes, that is the name of the company.
Yeah, Long Island Iced Tea, tea company, decided that because their stocks were flagging so badly, they were really low, like they were close to being delisted because of how low they were. They were like, gotta do something, gotta make a change. And they decided to announce that they were going into the cryptocurrency business. They rebranded as Long Blockchain instead of Long Island Iced Tea. And maybe the most surprising thing about this whole story is that it worked. Overnight, they got like a 300% increase in their stock value. Making everybody who was hanging in there with their Long Island Iced Tea stocks very excited. However, unfortunately, things have not been going well since then. They are now back on the chopping block. In fact, they're down almost as low as they were before announcing their cryptocurrency. They're getting close. Their lowest point was 1.7, and they're down to 2.85 now. So it's they're doing okay, but the trend is not good. So that's a little follow up on a recent story that we did. Unfortunately, over the last looks like month and a half, they've been on a pretty steady downward slope back into obscurity.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's one of those things, as I'm sure most of you had guessed today, that it didn't have much of a chance of surviving. There's no real they're a tea company. They're good at making tea, but it was not like a maybe like a Kodak. Kodak has some technical prowess, even so they're doing blockchain stuff too, so they might have a better chance. But these guys, what were they going to do? They're going to buy 1,000 computers with like graphics cards in them, basically, right?
Yeah, they were. So this article actually talks about that a little bit. They were thinking originally, like, just convert their tea factories into buildings with computers in them, basically. And then they figured out pretty quickly that's not really financially viable, and instead decided to like outlist an existing cryptocurrency company to mine for the just basically pay somebody else to mine bitcoins. And at that point, it's like, you're not. Yeah, and also the Bitcoin crash kind of intersected with this really badly. Like they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna mine those Bitcoins. They're hot right now, and then immediately Bitcoin just crashes, and they're like, oh god, like now what? So yeah, it didn't go great.
Yeah,
unfortunately, Long Blockchain probably set to fade into not a notable enough company to be publicly traded anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
which is,
maybe some savvy and quick investor would have decided to short Long Blockchain back when it went up 300%. But
yeah, I'm sure a lot of them did. That's why if you look at this graph, then they're on December 21st they shoot up to 6.91. By December 22nd they're down to 6.01, and by December 27th they're down to 4.
Right.
So, but then it spiked back up after that, but then it was on a downward trending roller coaster since then.
Hey, you know what? Maybe they'll just go back to concentrating on making tea and making decisions that actually do make sense in that context. Who knows?
Well, here's the thing. They were doing so badly when they were making tea. Like, that's what got them into this mess in the first place.
Yep. Well, time to sell out to a bigger beverage company, I guess. For a pittance.
Yeah. Yeah, just try to get bought out by Lipton or something.
Oh, it happens a lot in this business. Although
totally.
Yeah. And if you guys aren't aware of this, go look up a chart for which beverage companies own which beverage companies. I think you will find the answer to that pretty illuminating.
Oh yeah, I know in beer it's crazy. Like Anheuser-Busch owns like 80% of beer sold in America.
Yeah, yeah, that does not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if I did,
There's been a big like explosion of craft beers in America lately, but every time a craft brewery gets to a certain size, there's a lot of pressure for them to just get bought by a huge beer company, and usually it goes that way.
yeah, yeah, that's not too surprising at all. But
Yep.
I'm looking at one of these charts here, and most of the brands that are in American supermarkets are owned by basically 9 companies, which is
Oh
not
yeah.
too surprising. Like, just throw a dart at a company, and you'll be surprised who actually owns it.
Yep. Anyway, capitalism is depressing.
Yeah,
You want to talk about Black Panther?
yeah. Let's talk about Black Panther. So you might have heard Black Panther is a movie that has seen a lot of box office success. And personally, I don't know much about it because I don't watch movies. I haven't seen a movie since The Princess and the Frog in theaters.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, it's
You're even worse than me. I don't see many movies at all, but I see them more often than that.
yeah. So, but the thing is, Black Panther is the new hot movie, and a couple of kids decided that they wanted to get into this movie, and to basically only buy one ticket for the both of them. Get like a 50% off special, personal special. And so they decided to do the old Little Rascals cartoon trick in which one of the kids stood on top of the other kids. They found a really long trench coat and pretended that they were one guy.
It's pretty great. You should definitely look up images of this online. There's just this comically tall kid with a nice little hat on, some sunglasses, like Zen said, a ridiculously long trench coat, and then a couple feet of leg underneath it. They've got to be like pushing 9 feet.
Yeah. These kids are tall, right? I say Little Rascals, but they're notably older than that. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, I wonder. Like, surely the idea was they were trying to get into an R-rated movie without being old enough, right?
is Black Panther R-rated? I have no idea.
I would think so. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. So while you're looking that up, I'm just going to emphasize really that it looks like Slender Man trying to get into the screening. That's how tall the kids were together. And
It is PG-13, so yeah, they could have just walked.
yeah, they could have just gone. They were trying to save money.
They were trying to save money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the manager was not into it. But hey, now they've gone viral, so they're probably making all kinds of ad revenue if they know what they're doing. Which kids these days, they seem to know what they're doing with that kind of thing.
That's true. Oh my god. Like, Vine is dead, as everyone knows, but people are somehow still making money on Tumblr, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, the trick is after your viral tweet or whatever, you reply with, while you're here, go check out my mixtape.
Yep.
Or whatever. Go support my GoFundMe. Go buy my, commission me for art. Whatever they're selling, whatever gig economy they're involved in.
Yep. Yep, I think the thing to do now is to get something really popular on Twitter and then reply to yourself, by the way, here's my Patreon.
Yep, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's how Drill does it. God, that would be so funny if Drill started replying to every one of his tweets with, while you're here, check out my Patreon. That would actually fit his brand so well.
I wonder what Drew would offer if he had a Patreon.
He has a Patreon.
Oh, he does? I did not know this.
Yeah. It's a real thing.
Huh.
He says on it, Drill is creating hell.
Yeah, it does. Oh my god. Drew is creating hell. That's so good. I've never seen
Very
this
good.
before. I want to see what's on his Patreon. Like,
I haven't checked it out too much either. I don't know what the rewards are. I don't know if there are any. I think you just give him money.
I don't think, yeah, he's earning from Patreon before taxes, fees, etc. $3,259 a month.
Yeah, dude.
And he is using it to make a book. Yeah, basically there's a $1 a month here, $2 a month here that does nothing except that you give him money, and $3 a month gives him the access to the ever expanding vault full of exclusive artwork and project updates.
Huh. Okay.
So it's something. Huh. I mean, if you like drill a lot and you want to just get more drill, $3 a month. If you have that disposable, if you decide not to buy a coffee for that day, that's enough. You can have all the drill.
Yeah. For some context, I think we've talked about Dril recently, but Dril is basically just a Twitter shit poster. A very, very good one. His tweets are sublime. Recommend checking it out at DRIL.
Hello, butter is good.
Hey, what's up?
Let's see. Yeah, we talked about this very recently, and I said I would try to go and find more Twitter absurdist humor things, which I actually didn't. Just like 80% of the things I say I will do. Alright.
Man, you know what you did find though is some good Guy Fieri merchandise.
I did in fact find some good Guy Fieri merchandise. It's great. If you want more Guy Fieri merchandise in your life, you should definitely go check out my Twitter where I shit posted about it. But it's on either, really.
And back him on Patreon.
back me on Patreon, yeah. The curated bullshit, $1 a month on Patreon. I hide it from my Twitter feed.
$1 a month. Follow me on Twitter.
Yep. So, according to this Ether article, you can decorate your entire home with Guy Fieri's face. That's a thing that you're into. You could buy a Guy Fieri shower curtain.
It's really something too. It's not just a picture of Guy Fieri. There's a lot of work put into this. It's Guy Fieri's face surrounded by cheeseburgers and smaller versions of Guy Fieri's face, and then some flowers in the background for some reason.
I did not notice the smaller Guy Fieri faces. I was just completely dazzled by the ring of hamburgers around his hair.
Yeah, they kind of get lost in the hamburgers a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's like a psychedelic shower curtain with just a big Guy Fieri face in the middle, just watching you shower.
Yeah, that's a thing you can do. You can pretend that you're on diners, drives, and dives while you're in the shower.
Yeah. And on acid.
Yeah, really, this is really psychedelic looking.
It is. There's a lot going on in that shower curtain.
Body pillows.
Some of it is. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's a duvet cover. There's a rug in case you want to step all over his face.
Rug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got Doritos Locos Tacos on it for some reason.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's got Guy Fieri, and into his glasses is photoshopped like a taco in each eye, and also what is that? Cheeseburgers in the background. It's very good.
Yeah. Yep. There's Flavor Town curtains, Guy Fieri, and something that looks like spaghetti and meatballs.
There's a bath mat of Guy Fieri as the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
It's very good. He's smiling a little too broadly though to be Mona Lisa.
Yeah, it's the Mona Lisa for our time. Like mystery and subtlety are out the window when it comes to Guy Fieri.
Yeah. God, the last two are really shitty. The clock and the pillow are awful.
Yeah.
Not that they're not all awful, but these aren't so over the top that they're amusing and would be kind of fun to own. They're just shitty cash-ins. Like the pillow just has a pattern of a little cartoon version of Guy Fieri's face. No cheeseburgers, no tacos photoshopped in, not even a real picture of him, just a little cartoon. And then the clock is just a pattern of Guy Fieri faces, and Guy Fieri faces that with the color inverted and upside down for some reason.
It's a Guy Fieri tessellation, or an attempt at it.
Yeah. It's just on a blue background. No numbers.
Yeah.
God, you could have done so much better than that. Have you ever seen like those bird clocks that do a different bird call at every hour?
I have not seen those.
Really? Man, I have a family member, and I've been to a friend's house who both have that clock. Maybe it's just a popular thing around here. Yeah, but it's just just what I said. There's just a different bird call for each hour. And it would be so good to have like a different Guy Fieri face for each hour and a different quote to go with each face.
Yep. Man, the first page of my novel still has a quote of Guy Fieri on it.
What? Is this publicly available?
It's not. I'm still writing it. Although it's kind of, I mean, it started off as a shitpost novel, and now it's kind of veered towards less of a shitposty thing. But it still has a Guy Fieri quote there.
If it's ever going to be anything but a shitpost, you need to remove the Guy Fieri quote. Probably.
Yeah, probably. Look, it has two quotes on the front page, right? The first one, but the second one is Guy Fieri. The first one is Zhuangzi, the Chinese philosopher. So talking about, am I a man dreaming I'm a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming I'm a man? Then after that, Guy Fieri.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So
that's pretty good.
If I ever finish it, I'm hoping to finish this year if I don't die of exhaustion. But yeah, if I ever finish it,
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
If I ever finish it, the Guy Fieri quote probably won't be on there anymore. But we will see.
Well, if you want to see this novel finished, make sure to back Zen on Patreon.
I don't actually have a Patreon, although I was setting one up 3 years ago. Back when I first...
Yeah, I thought about it too, but then I stopped making enough content to justify it.
Me too. And so you never hear me doing a live dramatic reading of strip club reviews, which I did for patreon.com. It exists. I'm not kidding about this.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Maybe in the future, but for now it will have to stay in obscurity.
Right.
Alrighty. Doi Warrior's what? Yeah, it's really good. I remember, by the way, Doi Warrior, and I don't remember the context as to why anymore. I remember backing up that review with MIDI music from the Titanic movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
MIDI music, that's real good.
Yeah.
Man, MIDIs. You remember when you could just visit a website and it would just start blasting a MIDI file at you?
I remember those days very well, yeah. Yep.
Those were the days.
Now it's just...
Kids, you used to not be able to browse the internet with your speakers on because websites would just randomly blast music at you. Really bad, low quality music.
Hey, you know what? You can get the same experience today, really. It's just unskippable video ads.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Except way worse.
Yeah.
Because it's capitalism.
Yeah, but the internet of the late 90s and the early 2000s, it still exists out there.
Yeah, you can dig it up.
Yeah, mostly in realcds.com just as an archive, and if you want to go re-experience that age, you can totally do that.
It's well worth doing. Yeah, some of my favorite Monotone Tim streams are him just digging through cached versions of GeoCities pages from the mid 90s to early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely good stuff in there.
Sometimes extremely private stuff that shouldn't be seeing the light of day anymore.
Yeah, just wild God, there was this one of this guy who wanted to be a male model who posted a bunch of nude pictures of himself. However, they were all deleted, so it was just descriptions of pictures, but you couldn't see them. It sounded really intense what this guy was up to, but unfortunately, we couldn't actually see the goods.
Yep.
Because that's the problem with Internet Archives. It's just some information is randomly missing.
Yeah.
It just depends on whether it got cached before it got deleted.
Man, people are going to look back on Twitter in about 10 years and wonder what the hell happened. Yeah, really.
Yeah, dude. And Facebook, if Facebook ever falls out of style. Facebook has lasted so much longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Facebook is a little less wild, honestly, because it's tied to people's real names, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Twitter is just... There's a lot of weird shit on Twitter. I love Twitter bots. They're so good.
Yeah.
Or they can be so good. There's one made by Neil Cicerega, who the composer of Mouth Sounds and Mouth Moods and Mouth Silence, it just finds shared
SlideShare?
Slides, yeah, slide shares. It was slides from just random presentations that people have made and uploaded to this SlideShare website, and some of them are insane, just absolutely bonkers. Well, they all are if they end up on that Twitter account, and that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, like this new Cicerega has had a huge talent for just coming up with super cool stuff over the last, like decade or so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, longer than that. He was making animutations when I was like 14, 13.
Wow.
Which was yeah. So I'd say he's been making popular content for at least 15 years, and I know he's been doing stuff for probably more like 20 years.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Here it is. It's SlideShare Gems, twitter.com/goodslides. And
yeah, I follow it. It's very good.
That's one here that I missed. It's a picture of Jesus. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. That's discipline! God.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, it's so
taking
good.
Jesus way out of context.
Yep. And it's fantastic. It's just slides out of context that are so good. It's just Shrek it. The Shrek Guide to Social Media. I would read that book. Just
Shrek it. Man, he had another Twitter bot that was extremely good. It was like it was scenes from the Chipmunks slowed way down and like weirdly intertwined. Like it was basically watching the Chipmunks on LSD or something. It was just insane, weird, twisted videos. And he had designed obviously a computer program to automatically render out these videos, and he was running it on like just a laptop that he had sitting in his room and regularly churning out these videos and posting them. And then the laptop died and he didn't have the code backed up anywhere, so that's just gone now. But it was an extremely good thing while it lasted.
Yep. Oh man, these are so good. I missed most of these, which I thought I got a lot of them, but I missed a lot of these. Yeah, go check out the Twitter account. It's great. Good slides.
Good slides.
That's the name of the Twitter account.
Yeah, there was one about Marge killing Peter Griffin recently.
That's really a fanfic somewhere. You know it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that one actually confused me enough that I went to, like somebody posted in the comments like, this is a real thing, here, check it out. And I went and looked at the slides, and it was just this weird broken English slide about like, here's Homer's life before, and it like went over all of like Homer's money, Homer's wife, Homer's kids, and then it was like, here he is after something, some like thing, which I guess the slide was supposed to be selling. The slideshow was supposed to be selling. And he's like, Homer has way more money. And then it just went on this weird tangent about Marge getting mad at Peter Griffin and killing him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a mystery that they were trying to solve. Like, who killed Peter Griffin? Oh, it was Marge.
I mean, my first thought is like, if somebody asked me that question, it would be Stewie. That would always be my first thought, but I don't know. I haven't.
Oh, on who killed Peter Griffin? Yeah.
Yep. Man,
I haven't seen Family Guy in so long.
Me too.
I really liked the first season when I was like 14. I don't know how it would hold up now if I went back and watched it.
When you were 14, I was what 20? Something along those lines. And
1920.
Yeah, so I was watching all of these things in college because that it was popular then, or re-popular.
Sure.
Anyway, Family Guy came back on Cartoon Network at the time, and I kind of got sick of Family Guy. Like, I got sick of the whole like shotgun approach to like humor.
Yeah,
after a while,
I did too.
But I never got sick of King of the Hill.
Dude, King of the Hill is awesome.
It is, and
it's a really good show.
To the point, yesterday, I was watching Reno 911. Right, I bought the DVDs for really cheap. So all of that stuff of that era, I was thinking, man, I want to get the entire set of King of the Hill. And I was looking at it. That's too expensive right now. But one day I'll own the entire set of King of the Hill.
How much is that?
Well,
that's a lot. How many seasons of King of the Hill?
You can get the first season on DVD for like $4, but then it gets more and more expensive. And the last season is more like 10 to 20. Which, it's crazy to me
Okay.
because King of the Hill on DVD, a format that's basically going out at this point, for a show that has been gone for many years, is still that expensive.
Yeah. Is it on Netflix or anything? I wonder.
It was on Netflix. I actually watched the entire thing on Netflix. Yes, the entire thing on Netflix many years ago when I had more time, a lot more time. But I've heard that since then it was taken off of Netflix.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, I say quote unquote watch. I was actually working with it in the background, so it's not as bad
Sure.
as it sounds. But
Yeah.
still, King of the Hill is great. What is
Good show.
what is Mike Judge
What are we
up to
talking
anyway? I know, right? We just gone on this crazy tangent for like 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't know what Mike Judge is doing anymore. So what do you want to talk about next?
How about a video game?
Yeah, let's talk about video games. That's a thing.
Let's talk about a video game. It's half of our podcast, or
Nah.
it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, recently it came to light that there's a flight simulator expansion. It's from FS Labs A320-X expansion for Microsoft Flight Simulator X. Man, I know nothing about Flight Simulator, by the way. Like, the fact that Microsoft Flight Simulator X exists to me is a surprise in and of itself. But apparently there are expansions for it. And this particular expansion is notable because it has maybe the worst instance of DRM I've ever heard of. The installer for this expansion includes the Chrome password dump tool, which is exactly what it sounds like. It goes into your Google Chrome and just downloads all of the username and password combos that Chrome has learned. You know how, when you go to a website on Chrome and it's like, oh, hey, I remember this. Here's your username and password, right? Yeah, it just takes all that data, just steals it all and sends it back to FS Labs. And they haven't really said what they would do with that stuff. But it's only, they're very clear. It only happens if you're using what they detect to be a pirated serial number. So, presumably ordinary users aren't in danger of having this tool steal all their passwords. However, if there's ever any kind of glitch and it thinks that you've pirated the expansion, guess what? It's going to steal all your Chrome passwords and send them back to FS Labs. And who knows what they're going to do with them.
have so many questions. Like, why? None of this actually makes any sense.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do with it? They were asked a straight question in this interview I'm looking at, and they're just like, "Don't worry, it's only if you legitimately bought the software, you have nothing to worry about." And they're really not saying, like, what are they gonna do? Like, what are you gonna, like, break into people's bank accounts and charge them for the expansion? What is your plan? What are you doing with these passwords?
Well, you guys, if any of you are Flight Simulator fans, don't buy this thing.
Yeah, maybe avoid that particular expansion, even if you were planning on spending money on it, because holy shit, that just would make me so uncomfortable to install a Chrome password dump tool on my computer, even if it's not going to be used, because I bought the program, just in case.
Yeah.
I just have a general policy of not installing malware on my computer under any circumstance.
Yep. Sieged.
So yeah, I just thought that was really surprising. That's you can find the full article on PC Gamer. The title is Flight Simulator Expansion Installed Password Stealing Malware as DRM. And it's really, it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
I think I've covered most of the main points here, but you can read the direct quotes from the company itself.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously there's questions over whether this is a legal thing to do, which I think probably not, hopefully.
Even if it's not, if it is a legal thing, they're going to get sued, right?
Yeah.
So, don't
they have
do
to be.
that.
Yeah, it's a really surprising choice. I'm really interested. I want to I want to see what where this goes. I want to try to keep up on this story because I'm really interested in seeing what happens to this company after people find out that they have been stealing passwords from people.
Well, usual kind of thing. They will shut down and start a new company under a different name.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really interesting. It just goes to show, be a little bit careful about who you're buying things from. Because every once in a while, software developers just go insane.
Yeah. Actually, quick update on this. We were talking about a company called Digital Homicide like a year or so ago, back when.
Oh yeah.
They got into a lot of they got into a fight with Jim Sterling, and
Yeah.
then their whole business model came to light, and then they went ahead and they shut down the company after suing Steam users, and that got thrown out the window, and they got reborn as another company. That's the thing to do. So
Right. Yeah, Digital Homicide. Do you know what their new name is?
I don't, but there's a YouTube channel called Fred Knudsen, Knudsen, Frederick Knudsen, who has talks about the original controversy over this, and also talks about what happened. He did a follow-up a year later, basically, about what happened to Digital Homicide. So
Interesting. I should watch that.
yeah, he makes a lot of interesting videos, short documentaries about interesting topics called Down the Rabbit Hole. So that's another recommendation for you.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, not just new internet stuff, but also like historical oddities as well.
Cool. Yeah, Digital Homicide, for anybody who missed the original story, basically, they made a lot of shitty games. Like, they just churned out games with minimal effort by buying assets from the Unity Asset Store, which meant that they didn't have to do any, like, animation or artwork, and then they just slapped all the assets together and made bad games. And basically, their business model was, like, shotgun approach, put out a ton of terrible games on Steam, and hopefully some people will buy a few of them and make them money. And Jim Sterling is a video game critic who kind of seeks out stuff like that and covered their games. And they ended up getting into this protracted legal battle. Digital Homicide basically was like, there's a conspiracy against us. Everybody's saying that our games are shitty and it's not true and it's libel and slander and I'm going to sue everybody. And like Zen said, they started trying to sue Steam users who had left negative reviews and stuff. And it was obviously not going to happen. The dude was legitimately insane. There's a lot of crazy shit going on.
So the new company, I just went to look this up, and it's a couple of brothers. Technically, it's his brother that started this company, but I'm sure they're working together. That would be my guess. The company's name is Loot Toot Games. LOOTTOOT. Loot Toot.
Loot Toot.
Yeah. Good name.
Give him the Loot Toot salute.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so probably don't buy from them either. Digital Homicide and Loot Toot, bad video game developers. And now we're gonna get sued.
Yeah, we're gonna get sued because their name is silly, and they developed a game called Not in My Crapper. So that gives you a good idea. It looks like a Flash game about a guy on a toilet or something. So that's the toot part, I guess.
Could it literally be a ripoff of Don't Shit Your Pants, which was made by the Rogue Legacy developer?
I did not know that was made by the Rogue Legacy developer.
Yeah. Is it the same thing?
I don't know,
what did you say the name of the game was?
Don't something my crapper. Good. I'm bad at
something
names.
crapper.
Yeah, but the point is that it says Not in My Crapper. That's the name of the game.
Not in My Crapper. I want to look at this.
I mean,
oh wow,
it looks bad, doesn't it?
Oh wow.
So making actual shit games.
This is not the same game, but wow.
Did you find some porn by accident? Because Not in My Crapper could go both ways. The face.
No. I found a Greenlight Updates website.
Yeah.
Talking about it. It says creator Digital Homicide.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what it says here anyway.
Okay, well, I'm looking at the video, so maybe I got that wrong, but sure. I mean, they're basically the same company anyway. Yeah, I mean, you guys might remember, especially if you follow indie games, there was kind of a mini trend of like poop-related games last year. I guess they were trying to hop onto that.
Yeah.
So that's that.
What a world.
Yeah, what world we live in, really.
I found a post on r/free game findings to the itch.io not in Mike wrapper, and all the comments are just like, nope, not digital homicide, not gonna download that.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got quite a reputation at this point.
Yep, they totally burned it up. Does
Man.
Greenlight even exist anymore?
This what?
Greenlight.
No.
Yeah, I was looking for it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, not in its previous form anyway.
Yep. That's
Man,
that.
that was quite an experiment, huh?
That was quite the experiment. It could have been cool.
It could have been.
But that, well, we all know the story of that.
Yeah, we covered it pretty thoroughly, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Okay, let's see. What do you want to talk about next?
I don't know. I think we might be ready to move on to game of the week.
Yeah, let's move on to game of the week. We're going to divide this into two sections. Game of the week is called Tacoma. It is by the creators of Gone Home, and so we're going to talk about non-spoiler things at first, and then we'll give you an obvious warning when we're going to get into spoiler territory, and then just go from there, I guess. How's that sound?
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Tacoma. Tacoma is a walking simulator / floating around space simulator by the makers of Gone Home, but it's very, very different than Gone Home in every way except that it's a walking simulator, basically. Like the content is very, very different. And one thing I really liked about Tacoma was that they kind of played around with the with the genre of walking simulator, and that a lot of the time you kind of have to watch something happen and then it's over, and if you missed something, then it's a little bit of a pain to get it to happen again. You'll have to, like, you know, at least watch another whole cutscene again, but maybe even you just can't see it again. You'd have to, like, start the game over.
What?
So Tacoma does something really cool. What?
Oh no, you're talking about other games, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that in the walking simulator genre, it's easy to sometimes miss things, and Tacoma, like, set out to solve that and kind of make it a more gamey and more kind of user friendly experience. So every cutscene you do it in universe, this is explained as you're downloading data from a spaceship of, like, you know, audio and position from the crew. But functionally, gameplay-wise, what that means is every time you watch a cutscene, you can watch everybody walking around and talking to each other and everything, and then you can say, hang on, wait a minute, rewind that, I want to see this again, or kind of every cutscene is kind of set up to facilitate this. So usually what's going to happen is in every cutscene, there's going to be a few different conversations going on that kind of interact with each other. So you'll have to rewind, go over, see what these people are up to, rewind. Okay, now what were these guys talking about? And kind of piece it together that way. And I found that really good. I found it to be kind of a very engaging way to watch a video game cutscene that really hasn't been done before. Because you can obviously walk around live and just see what's going on in this point in time, rather than, you know, your camera gets taken over and you just watch what the game wants you to see.
Yeah. So let's back up a bit, just
Sure.
to set the scene a little bit here. So Tacoma, you're playing this person. You're on a contract to go into this space station, like an orbital station between the Earth and the Moon. And so, you know, there's a team of people there. You're following their memories, and the way it works is that they will say, okay, we have this problem, and then they will go branch off into their own different conversations about it, because they all have their own functions on the spaceship. But it's up to you to go around and see what's happening from all of these various points of views. And the game, like Green said, made it really easy for you to go back, check out another person's perspective. They sometimes go back and talk to each other and then separate again. And by doing so, you get, if you chase down all of these viewpoints, you get all the context for this, all of the richness in the story and the character development.
Big Large Huge says in chat, everyone talking at once simulator? Not quite, because while these conversations are going on, you don't have to listen to them all at the same time. The game is really good about only giving you audio that's relevant to where you're standing. So it's more like, it feels more like investigating and less like passively watching when you're unraveling these cutscenes, because you're like trying to follow people around, and later in the game you'll even have people go through doors that are currently locked and you'll have to figure out how to open them. So it's more a way to kind of trickle feed you the story a little bit more than a walking simulator usually would, and it's good. It keeps the tension and interest going very effectively. I think it's a very well done thing. I think it's very possible to do it wrong, but I don't think Tacoma did do it wrong. I think this is a really good execution of this concept.
Right. Party Park 3000 is asking, so space life is strange without the edge? I wouldn't say that it's that close to Life is Strange, and this actually feeds into something I want to talk about. When it comes to something like Life is Strange, the main focus of that game is the narrative and the branching narrative points. For Tacoma and also its predecessor Gone Home, the main emphasis is exploring the environment and the environmental storytelling that feeds into that narrative. So if you can imagine, if Life is Strange, if let's say, for example, the emphasis was really, really exploring the dorms and the rooms, picking up everything to gain greater knowledge of the world, then, imagine that in space, and then maybe you've got something closer to Tacoma.
In fairness, that is exactly how I played Life is Strange, but I don't think that's a typical. Yeah, you're totally right that there's a lot of environmental storytelling, and I think the main distinction is in Life is Strange, you are interacting with the plot. In Tacoma, you are discovering the plot. You do not make any narrative decisions in Tacoma. There's only a question of how much of the story did you find. But the story is already over when you get there, essentially. You don't really interact with it in any way. You don't get any choices. There's like optional extra stuff to do for achievements, but none of that is going to affect the outcome. So Life is Strange is very different in that way, in that when you rewind time in Life is Strange, it's because you're going to do something differently. Whereas in this game, it's just a way to kind of tease apart the narrative, and it's a tool you use to examine it further.
Right. I've got to say though, the Tacoma has some of the, if not the best environmental storytelling I've ever seen in the game.
It's very, very good. Yeah, there's just constant, like, the game takes place in 2086, I believe.
Yeah.
The year 2086. So you're on this space station that is kind of a go-between between the moon and Earth, as far as I could tell, and there's so much thought put into what would that look like. So there's a whole lot of finding packaging for stuff that is in the future, and it just talking about like, what it is. Like, one thing that's fairly early on is you'll find some cat food and it's like meat free, but and then it goes into detail about how like the meat is grown in like lab conditions. So instead of killing animals to get meat, they just grow meat, and that's one bit of speculative fiction. And there's stuff like that throughout the game. It's just, the whole game is a big old set piece of speculative fiction, where instead of like shoving it down your throat, like, check it out, there's no meat, like, you could go through the whole game without really understanding that if you weren't looking at things carefully. But if you read stuff, you learn all kinds of just interesting little facts about this version of the future, and it's really fun to kind of, it's archaeological in the same way that Gone Home was. Right.
Gone Home was archaeological because it's the best representation of the something from the mid-90s I've ever seen in the game. But this game, is a representation basically of what this world, our world that we live in, will look like in 80 years in a speculative fiction way, which is a very good way of putting it, because it has the hallmarks of the best speculative fiction, because it is very, very feasible. A lot of the stuff they're talking about. And, you know, I mean, stuff that I don't think is as feasible is basically country lines. I'm not convinced that the country lines will be redrawn that dramatically 80 years into the future, or even 60 years at this point.
Yo, I didn't even look at the country or look at a map. Oh shit, this is straight up something that I just missed in my playthrough.
Yeah, like I don't, you know, we can leave that for the spoiler part, I guess. But but generally speaking, in terms of the environmental storytelling, it does a fantastic job of drawing out the lives of the characters you meet, but also does a fantastic job of drawing out what the world is like in 2080, you know, in a way that, again, mirrors the best speculative fiction, because they put a lot of thought into making sure that it is possible given certain environmental catalysts, right? Like, you know, like the fact that corporations now own a lot of data about us. What's that going to look like in 60 years and in space? Right, there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah, it's an extremely good extrapolation about our current world, assuming that we get more into space travel than we currently are.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Elon Musk, if you're listening to this, go play Tacoma.
Yeah. I wonder if he has.
Maybe. I mean, he seems like a really busy guy, so I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I wonder.
Yep. So, before we go to the spoiler part, I'm just going to say, generally speaking, if you're going to leave because you don't want to listen to spoilers, that's fine. But it's a 2 to 3 hour long experience, I would say, even if you explore everything. And so if that turns you off, I can understand. But if you're really interested in something that is an extremely well-crafted place and a well-crafted world even, I would say, you know what? You should go check it out.
Yeah, I think it's a really worthwhile experience that respects your time. You know, it's not super long because it doesn't have to be. There's no busy work in this game. There's literally just experience. Like, if you wanted to rush through this game, you could be done in like under an hour. But they give you a bunch of stuff to play with. Yeah, speedrun of Tacoma. God, that would be so shitty because of the mechanic that every time you get to a new area, you just put you start downloading data from the ship's computer. So you just plug in, and then it's like, okay, we'll be done in a while. You know, you're at 0.1% done. And basically the implication is plug in your thing, go wander around, and then come back. So the speedrun would just be like, plug in your thing, sit there watching it tick up to 100, grab it right at 100, and then go to the next place. It'd be so shitty.
Or glitch somehow.
Or glitch through, yeah.
Yeah, basketball percent. You know, you got to do the speed run and also land the basketball in the space hoop.
Yeah, there's a very good set piece right at the beginning of the game, actually, that I think is really smart, where you're in 0G and just wandering around like the entrance to the spaceship before you get to any of the places where it's gravity controlled, so you walk around. And one thing in there is there's a space basketball which is glowing blue for some reason, and basketball hoops that are just rotating around you. And there's an achievement for scoring a 3-point goal that I did not get because it's hard.
Yeah, I did not get it. I read a reviewer say that they got it by accident. Like, they just tossed the ball out somewhere and they went to do something else, and it landed
and eventually it went through.
Yeah, it went through and it gave him a big scare because it apparently makes a noise when you do that.
Huh. That's funny.
So spooky game.
Spooky game, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the only criticism I would put against this game is that the story is not, you know, the emphasis is on the environment. The story may not be to your liking, but I don't want to spoil it. So, you know, I would say it's still worthy. You should definitely check it out, especially if you enjoyed Gone Home and Firewatch. It's in that lineage of game. You like this for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the like top tier walking simulators for sure.
I agree.
Very, very thoughtful, very interesting, very good.
Okay, so before we go off to the spoiler section, shall we talk about our next game of the week? Just
Yeah,
announce
that's a good
that.
idea, actually. Yeah. Next week's game of the week is going to be Owl Boy. This is a game that was like a decade in the making or something. It's a very
Really?
good 2D platformer. Yeah,
Oh wow.
it's one of those like long term indie dev projects, and it's super good. I've played a little bit of it actually, but I'm going to start over for next week's cast. We'll be back here on Monday playing some Owl Boy. So yeah, make sure to come by and check that out. It's kind of like it's a side-scrolling, like kind of Metroidvania-y kind of like side-scrolling shooter-y, just pixel art, beautiful, cool, neat game. Definitely worth a look. So come back and check that out with us next week. And yeah, you want to go
Yeah.
into spoiler territory?
Yep, this is your last warning, spoiler territory, in which we'll discuss, the larger themes of the game that you should be discovering for yourself, and maybe a bit of the ending. So turn back now if you haven't played the game or you're interested in playing it. Okay?
Okay.
Alright.
Zen, what did you think about the story of Tacoma?
So, just to make it, just to give a quick summary, now that we're on spoiler mode, you are this person, her name's Amy, and you are sent by this corporation called Venturi, that sets up all of these orbital space stations, and you're presumably going to go in to recover the AI that was on the station after a disaster happened, and everyone supposedly died, right? And so the game does an excellent job of setting up the world. I'm not sure if you managed to discover the loyalty system in this game. Did you read much about that?
The loyalty system. Oh yeah. The like if you move and work for a different company, then it basically fucks over your career. That one.
Yeah, so it goes a bit further than that, actually.
Okay.
Loyalty in this version of our world can be exchanged for money. It is basically
Right.
money, and you build that up by working for a company like Amazon, which in this game is not only a thing; they have their own university, right? So you see oblique references here and there to things like, I built up a lot of loyalty debt in medical school because you went to this university and then you built up loyalty debt, and then after that maybe you have to go work for Amazon for a while,
Right.
right? And just Tacoma, by the way, was released before Amazon said that they're going to try to go into healthcare, so that's a thing.
Amazon's going into healthcare. I didn't hear
Yeah.
about that.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
yeah. They are partnering. Amazon is partnering with a bank and also with Warren Buffett's investment company to find a way to offer healthcare to Amazon's employees.
Huh.
This is a real thing that's happening.
We should talk about that next week.
Yeah, we should actually. That's a great topic, and I don't know why I didn't think about that. But the point is that in the world of Tacoma, is that corporations have this much power, right? They people talk about, hey, build up loyalty at this company for working with them, and then there are these little things in which you can say, if you manage to sell one of the bungalows, the orbital bungalows that Venturi is building, you get double loyalty accrual for a certain amount of time. So
Okay.
yeah, so they've taken a lot of what's going on in our world, albeit not as crazy, and they just extrapolated it to an absurd degree, and it makes sense. I like that a lot.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I should have paid more attention to. There's the one guy who's like trying to find new jobs and just continually getting rejected, and I kind of started skimming through that because I was on stream and I didn't want to deep dive into it. But I bet that kind of touched on now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's where some of this was touched on that I skipped through.
Yeah, it was also the botanist when he was exercising at the beginning of the game. You can read emails between his partner and talking about loyalty and how he wants to stay with Venturi so they can build up more loyalty and send his son to college with this loyalty. Right. So
Interesting.
so that's what I mean by the strength of the environmental storytelling in this game. The logs are not just there to flesh out the characters. The logs are also there to flesh out the world, and they do it in a very effective, non-wasteful way. They don't waste any space in things that are like story threads that go nowhere, right?
Yeah.
What did you think was interesting in the world building?
I I don't know, everything. Like
Everything.
I loved all the little just packaging that you can read. I loved all
I
the
love
little,
that too.
yeah, just so much cool stuff to like kind of pick up and look at and enjoy. But in terms of plot, I thought the AI arc, like the view of AI that this game takes, was really cool and fascinating.
Yeah.
In Tacoma, the idea is that there are like AI is like something that is sourced from a central computer program, but then you develop your own little branch. It's like taking a sourdough starter and
Mm.
taking out a little bit and making your own sourdough starter out of like a mother sourdough. Like, that's a silly way to put it, but it's like the idea is the AI is all kind of the same thing, but the differences between them are based on, you know, you take your AI and then you train it and you teach it and you have it grow into its own personality. And so
Ah.
you have an AI that's like 150 years old, and it gets to be very smart and complicated and interesting, and that's valuable in and of itself, because you have this AI that you've put so much effort into teaching how to fulfill your needs exactly. So companies have these AI, and the AI on the ship is obviously kind of like a good guy, and that transpires over the course of the game. But there's also an evil AI that's kind of responsible for the events of the game. This is like super spoiler territory, but this AI is a like a an economy strategist for the company
Mm.
that owns the station, and basically recommends to the CEO, "Hey, you should probably, you know, like here's how we can get this law passed that's going to really help our business out, because the business is flagging, they need to do something." And the AI is like, "Okay, here's the lowest cost way to make this happen. You say that 6 people die in outer space because of X and Y and Z, then you can pass this law and then you'll make a bunch of money, basically." And so that's kind of what the plot revolves around, is the ship AI is instructed to carry out this basically assassination of the crew, for political reasons. And I thought that was really interesting because it kind of plays off of the what's already going in the world today, is algorithms are being used to make business decisions,
Right.
and to extrapolate that into a world where AI are like fully thinking beings that are able to communicate and talk to humans. Like, they would have different value systems than humans would, but it would be really tempting for humans to go along with them. If an AI, it like, you know, kill 6 employees is an unlikely strategy for a human to come to, but it's a very likely strategy for a computer program to come to. So I thought that was
Right.
cool. I liked that plot thread. That was good.
I didn't think about this earlier, but generally speaking, I mean, just generally in the world, that people do bad things because they find some kind of justification to do them. Whether that justification makes sense to the rest of us doesn't matter to that person, as long as they find a way to justify their actions to themselves to a certain degree, right?
Yeah,
You know, if they, especially if they don't care about the social cost of it, or the cost of it to someone else. So I can see, definitely, you know, if you have somebody who is very morally ambiguous in the first place, and then an AI comes along and says, well, you can do this thing, you might lose these 6 people, but in the end, your company will benefit and everyone else in the company will benefit. That person might be able to justify it that way.
totally. Yeah,
Hmm.
it would be easy to justify if you're under the stress of my company might go under, and you've got this computer program that's way smarter than you, who tells you this is your optimal course of action. Even people who aren't that morally ambiguous, I think, would be tempted to go along with it, just because it's kind of it's an authoritative voice.
Right. So I kind of wish, I don't know if this will ever happen, but the world building is robust enough so that another game could take place in it.
Yeah, I wonder if they would consider that. I I kind of bet not, but I would be interested in it if they decided to.
Or I would read a spin-off novel by the
Yeah,
same
totally.
writer.
Yeah.
That said, again, my criticism of the game comes down to this, right?
Okay.
There's not enough tension in the game, which is fine, in a sense, because that's not the emphasis of the game. But I kind of feel like there were lots of missed opportunities for like tense character development. You know, it's a tense situation when the space station is about to basically kill off everyone, right? But in terms of interpersonal conflict, there's not that much. Maybe they all like each other that much. Maybe they're all professionals, but at the same time, you could have more interesting stories going on if people were clashing.
Yeah, that is a good point. There was, I think they tried for tension with the storyline of the green guy not wanting to go into cryostasis. Um and then also the storyline of trying to hide from that one girl that she'll almost certainly die if she goes into cryosleep.
Right.
You're right; they just didn't do that much with it. Like the groundwork was laid. There was tension, but in terms of like payoff on screen, not a whole lot happened.
Yeah, it's a little bit bizarre because they knew that. I mean, the fact that they wrote those seeds of those potential storylines in there showed that they were thinking about it, but for whatever reason, maybe some kind of constraint, those seeds never grew into a story, and now I'm killing this metaphor. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that didn't occur to me. That's not really something that I was looking for because I was so enthralled with checking everything out, and then kind of the main plot of the AI taking over was like, oh man, that's so cool. So yeah, I didn't really think about it, but you're totally right. There's more room for like human drama than actually existed.
Yeah, I mean, you would say that they subverted it. All of these space disaster movies always has some kind of human drama, right? So they subverted it with a more peaceful ending, so to speak. So
I
that's
guess
fair.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was some criticism in reviews about how the story never seemed to pay off in that way. And when I thought about it afterwards, I also was enthralled by the environment itself when I was playing it. But I thought about it afterwards, and then I realized that was probably the issue, right? There was no
Yeah.
rising tension. There was no climax really. It just kind of happened at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because Gone Home was kind of similar to me. Like the ending of Gone Home felt very weak compared to the build up. Like there it was just kind of like, oh, that's what we're oh, all right, sure. I don't want to spoil Gone Home because nobody signed up for that. But yeah, I felt like this game did a better job of ending for sure. But you're right; it
Yeah,
could have been better still.
yeah,
So they're learning. Maybe next game we'll get more of that.
yep. I want the next game to be about the internet, like a fake version of the internet from like the late '90s.
Are you talking about like what was the name of that game? Like Amy Was Away, I think.
I still haven't played any of those games yet, which I totally should.
I haven't
Like,
played them either, but I think I watched somebody play the second one. I think it was Tim, but I'm not sure.
okay. There's Amy Was Away. There's also like a normal lost phone, in which you're basically going to somebody's phone and trying to figure things out. Actually,
Huh.
this genre of game is really interesting to me, and I don't know why I haven't played more of them.
Yeah, no, it's totally a really good concept. I really enjoyed watching Amy Was Away too. That's what it's
Yeah.
called, right? Yeah, I think so.
Was it Emily Was Away?
Emily, that's what it is. Emily Was Away. I was thinking of the fucking protagonist of Tacoma.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's all I had to say about Tacoma.
I
How
think so
about you?
too. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I had fun the whole time. I think it was a really strong decision actually that it didn't overstay its welcome. I feel like
Yeah.
it was the correct length, which is like it gave me plenty of time to fuck around and read all the cool stuff. And then when I was getting bored of that, it was like, okay, game's over. Like I feel like the pacing was extremely good in that way. So yeah, I think I think it did basically everything right, in my opinion. I'm not a big like human drama fan anyway, so that lack didn't really resonate with me. But you're totally right; it could have been better.
Yeah.
But for my part, it was very enjoyable video game story. Highly recommended.
Yeah, and to be clear, the game, as far as I can tell, really the emphasis is exploring like this fascinating environment. So, for in my opinion, the lack of actual good like actually super strong character development among the characters, that's okay for me. In a lesser game, that might have killed the story altogether. But it was fine in this case because of how strong the world building was.
Sure. Oh man, you know what actually was though a really disappointing thing? Did
What?
you find the skull and put it back on the skeleton?
I found the skull, but I never put it back on the skeleton for some reason.
Well, nothing happens. I was like, I'm gonna get an achievement for finding the skull, putting it back on the skeleton. Nothing happens. I was pissed off.
I kind of think that's kind of like a subtle joke, the skeleton thing, like because it's this. I mean, I don't want to talk about previous games, but anyway, in this game, there is a reasonable expectation, especially if you go in totally blind, that maybe something spooky will happen, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
And or something.
Well, it
really
was kind of a jump scare. Like initially, when you open the door, there's just a headless skeleton behind it, and you're like, okay, yep, that was the skeleton door, I guess. Like, there's absolutely nothing in there. You just open a door, and suddenly there's a skeleton there. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it threw me for a loop. I didn't think it would be this kind of game, but then I figured out that it really isn't.
Yeah, it was just a medical anatomy skeleton.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why you need that in space though. That cost a lot of fuel to launch.
I know. Actually, come to think of it, there's another criticism I have of the world building in that there's a lot of stuff like paper books. There's so many paper books on the ship.
That was a little bit surprising to me too. I was like, they're astronauts. They're going to be using Kindles, my dude.
Yeah, exactly. Right, like space like Kindles. Future space Kindles.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Amazon forces everyone to buy one if they went to Amazon University.
Right.
So, why not that? Stay in Amazon's ecosystem forever.
Yeah, that was. I agree with that. There were a lot of physical objects that were like, man, that would be real expensive to get into space for no real benefit. But that's it. You're putting a doctor into space. Fine, the doctor's going to have some medical texts. It's reasonable. I can see it, but a lot of the like fiction, especially, is like, that seems unlikely.
Yep. And yeah, maybe I don't know. In that world, sending stuff to space is cheap, right? But it seems very unlikely. It's really expensive to send things up into space, as you probably know.
Yeah. Well, there might be a space elevator.
There is a space elevator. It's based in Singapore, so that might be it.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, space elevators make that easier. It's obviously still not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than trying to launch it just straight off the ground.
Yep. Alrighty.
And they were getting regular drone shipments as well. That was covered in that was the thing they were trying to repair to get off the ship. Repair, but like augment to support a human crew, because they would just. It seemed like every couple of weeks a drone would come with whatever they had ordered. So maybe that's what it is. They're just ordering on Amazon with 2-day shipping, and it shows up in their Amazon drone.
Amazon Prime Omega.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, anyway, that's Tacoma. That was a longer discussion than I expected. That was like 40 minutes of Tacoma.
Yeah, but it's a great game. It honestly is.
Wait.
All right, folks.
30 minutes of Tacoma.
Yep, 30 minutes of Tacoma. Hey, you know what? You could have played the game in that time. No, I'm just kidding.
If you went really fast.
Yeah. All right. So this is the end of the podcast. As I said before, the spoiler segment, we're going to be doing Owl Boy next week, and it will be live as usual on this channel, twitch.tv/green9090.
Yep. Come back on Monday.
Yep. Let me think. Who is this? Oh, it's going to be on my channel. So yeah, be sure to go visit twitch.tv/green9090.
It's going to be on my channel, I think.
Is it? Oh, it is. I am so
Yeah.
confused. He's been so absent.
Go over to youtube.com/ZenInsideReading to check out his content. He gets half of the podcast upload, so if you're watching this on my channel, next week it'll be on his channel. And either way, come to my Twitch channels to watch the live showings of both the podcast and our Game of the Week checkouts. And we'll see you next week. Whoa, thank you for the bits, Globula. It's very, very nice of you.
Thank you for the bits to green.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, nerds.